let me kick us off officially so that we can get this train rolling. See what I did there?
Yep. I'm just gonna file my nails that I keep breaking.
That's fine as long as you don't like
It's
elbow your mic stand. We'll be fine. Yeah, or nick an artery.
Oh no, I opened a vein.
Hi everybody. On that note, welcome to Caffeinated Terrier Talk, the official live and podcast thing of Caffeinated Terrier Press, of which currently today consists of myself, Ben Shankman, urban fantasy author and audiobook narrator, and my fantastic co-host,
Lori Nielsen, who didn't know he was going to pause just then.
We've been in the theater together, Lori. just to taste.
I wasn't ever on stage. I built sets and painted shit. I don't go on stage.
All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we have some interesting topics, one of which actually is an offshoot of a conversation that I was having with Clarence Carter of Redacted Tales. He actually invited me randomly to join a live that I was on because I had opinions and a microphone, and that's always a dangerous thing. But we're going to be talking about small presses, small publishing houses, and how that works. What are some of the benefits? Why you should or shouldn't consider submitting your book either yourself or through an agent to a small press compared to independent or self-publishing. We may even delve into traditional publishing conversation depending on how this goes. But then we're also going to be talking about scams and what's out there right now because we are getting so many
bombarded.
I think we may have even talked about this like 2 lives ago when it wasn't New Year's and I was inebriated. But it's worth talking about again because it's constant. The landscape is constant and ever changing. And then we're also going to be talking about where we are at with our current projects, what's going on with the press, and what you can expect to see. I also have a couple things that I can show off, like the anthology that just published for Caffeinated Terrier Press, which we'll talk about.
The printed ones. And you're 2 hours away from me. And you can bring me one on Friday.
I can in fact do that. I need to go. I need to put one in the car so you can be like, where's my book? And I'll be like, I'll be right back. So yeah, let's start with the ever-present conundrum. If you're on Book Talk and if you are, bless your heart, it's a rough place out here. I mean, it's great. Book Talk is great, but at the same time, it's also a mess. And every day there's an author coming on here who's talking about whether or not they are taking the journey into self-publishing, often referred to as independent publishing, or if they are pursuing the query trenches, as it is not so affectionately called. And that being, am I submitting my manuscript to either agents, publishers, or both? And we're here to tell you all about our experiences with both of those things and also why you might want to consider doing one or the other or neither. So let me preface this Let me preface this by saying I've done a couple of different things personally. I have queried agents. I have queried medium and small publishers. I have queried a few non-traditional publishers or pursued a couple of non-traditional publishing outlets. And I have, in fact, self-published and established my own small press, being Caffeinated Terrier Press. But I will explain why Caffeinated Terrier is not a small press the way that we're going to be talking about going forward. Lori, do you want to talk at least briefly about like what you considered doing versus what you did?
I very, very briefly considered trying to, get my book published the traditional way. But I had just come off of losing my 20-year-long career in in art, in graphic design. I was a catalog photographer. I actually do know a whole lot about what goes into the printing process. If anyone has questions about that, I could talk about the kinds of things that go into printing something, because we printed catalogs. So anyway, I was unemployed for 9 months of 2024, and I applied to so many jobs and got so many uh, form letters saying that my resume was really nice, but I'm just not what they're looking for right now. That I realized if I had to go through that again with a book, I don't think I could have dealt with it. And Ben had already published, I think, a couple of books on his own with KDP and all that stuff. So I was just like, hey, how do you do that? Because I'm just going to skip right to that. I don't want to be rejected again. I can't take it.
And
I just can't.
just to be perfectly clear, that is always a valid choice. There is a constant like back and forth between readers of whether self-publishing is as good as traditionally published books, and that even means so here's the thing: to a layperson, to a reader who knows nothing about the publishing industry, there is always a perception that traditionally published books, that being books aligned with a publishing house of some kind, are legitimate, whereas self published books are often not considered to be. Some readers consider there to be a quality gap, which clearly means they haven't read enough traditionally published books to know there's just as many quality problems in TradPub.
Mm-hmm.
And this also isn't me just, I'm not just going to sit here and tell readers why they're wrong about self published books. But they are, and we don't actually need to spend time talking about that because this group in general and the people who would listen to a show like this are usually already on board with the idea that self-publishing is a perfectly valid path. But again, there is a not insignificant portion of readers who believe that if you're not aligned with a publishing house, then you aren't a real author. You're not a real published author. So just to get this off my chest immediately, self-publishing is a valid path, and you do not have to have queried your book a single time to an agent or a publisher for that to be a legitimate choice for publishing your book. Just
Mm-hmm.
does not need to happen. You don't have to suffer through the query trenches. I went the self-publishing route originally, and then with another of my books decided to try querying, and then gave that process up because it's miserable. But yeah, so just real quick, why Caffeinated Terrier Press is not a small publisher the way that people think of small publishers is because the goal is not for the publishing company or the person that runs it. Hi, that's me. I run it. It's not to make any money. The whole goal of Caffeinated Terrier Press, and that's why if you go to the website, we're labeled as cooperative publishing, because cooperative publishing means that we are here to support the work of the authors that are part of the co-op. Does that mean that everyone who is in the co-op is going to publish through Caffeinated Terrier Press? No. It means that they're going to have an option to do that, and we're also going to make sure that the books meet some kind of quality standards.
Yeah.
To be determined. We don't know what those are yet because there's only like 3 of us that have published anything with Caffeinated Terrier Press anyway.
Oh, yeah. Is it just me? Has Dave published with Caffeinated Terrier?
Technically, it's on the website, but Dave, like, those were books that Dave effectively self-published half under the imprint name.
Okay, so it's just you, me, and Tal.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So when we now, as we go forward, what we're going to be talking about when we say small presses, we mean publishing houses whose goal is to Like their goal is to make money for themselves and ideally for their authors, but the authors sign on for whatever their royalty agreements are. And then the publishing house owns the rights to publish the books and or produce other media, because sometimes the rights will include things like audiobooks. And the publisher, the goal, again, they're corporations usually, if they're smart. If they're not smart, they're a DBA like me, because I'm not actually a corporation. But it's a profit seeking venture, right? Because if you weren't making any money at it, why would you do that? You would just let people self publish their own books. So there's got to be something in it for the publishers. So why don't we talk about that first? What's in it for a small press to acquire the rights to your book? And let me toss it over to you, Lori, for a second. So what kind of rights, as someone who has not sought traditional publishing, what kind of rights do you think a small press might be interested in acquiring from an independent author?
I would assume, the rights to, I don't know. I would assume the rights to distribute the work in various ways. I'm just sitting here thinking back to all the expenses of what it takes to publish something, because when I worked for a catalog company, we published 2 catalogs a year and like 5 flyers. And I'm just thinking about like the paper, the ink, the printing, the pre-press, the warehouse space. It's so expensive just to do that.
Let's talk about that, because that's actually one of the things that you should do as an independent author. If you are considering submitting to a small publishing company, you need to determine what it is that they're going to do for you. So like the leading question that I gave you, Lori, was it's really about distributing digital media, like an ebook. It's about print media. And then it may or may not be about audiobooks, because some publishers do not want to take on the expense of producing an audiobook. And some publishers do it a slightly different, and I would actually dare say it's a slightly sneaky way, because authors don't understand necessarily what goes into this. So I'm going to point this out as a bad deal for you independent authors. So we'll go through that. So you've got ebook, you've got print, you've got audiobooks, and then there's subsidiary rights like translations and media like film and TV and those kinds of rights. Publishers, and this actually gets a little bit into predatory practices, because for anyone who's been following anything recently, you've heard of Shadowlight Press, which is the independent press that came under fire recently for having what writer beware Victoria Strauss, who's fantastic, deemed the most predatory contract she has ever seen. And one of the reasons why it was so predatory is it was basically expansive. If you are going to approach a small publisher or even an agent, if a publisher wants rights to everything, they want ebook, print, they want movie rights, TV, audiobook, translations, overseas, whatever, you need to know whether they have the clout to actually exercise any of those rights. Because if they own the rights to them, you do not anymore. And so if the publisher, like Tor can produce anything they want. They can make an audiobook, they'll do print, they'll do ebook. They've got connections in visual media and TV and things like that. And so like real big 5 like publishing houses, if they want all of your rights, that's up to you and your agent as to what rights you want to sell to them. But they have the backing to exercise those rights. Smaller presses often do not. And the presses that want all of your rights, but then do not have the power to exercise any of them, are basically just stealing the opportunity from you. So you always want to be careful if you're looking at contracts with small presses and you're considering whether to sign, is how extensive are the rights that they're requesting and whether they're going to be able to actually exploit. And when I say exploit, I mean in a good way. They're whether they'll be able to capitalize on any of those.
Hmm. I kind of wonder now because you told me about the existence of vanity presses
Mm-hmm.
that basically exist for, like, this rich guy has a housewife and she's a trophy wife. She doesn't really do anything, but she wrote this book that's terrible, but she's got money to blow, so she can spend $6,000 to get her book published. What does she actually get for that? Because I do know when we published catalogs, those weren't hardcovers. They were, they're perfect bound. They're, the covers. Oh God, I'm trying to remember the terminology. The cover is some kind of quality, and then the inside is lower quality paper. But
Mm-hmm.
we paid for the paper, the ink, the pre-press, the shipping, and then we had our own warehouse, so we were housing the catalogs. We also paid for. We had a distribution list. We paid for shipping all of those things out. But every time we printed the catalog, it was like $20,000
Mm-hmm.
for 100,000 or 50,000 catalogs. So I'm wondering, for $6,000, what do you even get?
Yeah, so the answer is not much. That actually gets back to the other thing that I was alluding to, which is most of the really small presses, they're not doing what are called. So what you're talking about, Lori, is it's an offset print run, right?
Yep.
So an offset print run, for anyone who isn't aware, is when a printer prints a run of printed media, books, catalogs, whatever, and then it comes on a pallet to a door somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and then you are then responsible for contracting with someone for the distribution of said offset print run items. So many, and in fact, I dare say most of the small presses that I have had any amount of experience with, even if it's just looking them up on their websites, they're mostly doing print on demand, just like we are. They are not
Okay.
doing offset print runs of books and then storing them in a warehouse to ship when people buy them, because warehousing is expensive. Holding physical
Yes.
inventory is expensive. So it makes the books slightly more expensive to do print on demand, but then they don't have to pay for keeping inventory and managing inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So again, one way in which a small press is not doing anything differently than you are is if the press isn't big enough to do an offset print run, then they're just doing print on demand, and that's something you can do for yourself.
Okay.
What do you get from a vanity? So vanity, also known as hybrid publishing, is a scam. It's always a scam. It is,
Mm-hmm.
so let's jump into our second topic for 2 seconds. The rule is money flows to the author. Okay. If you get an
Mm-hmm.
agent, you don't pay the agent. If you get a publisher, you don't pay the publisher. If you're doing self-publishing, you don't pay KDP. Money flows to the author. And
Mm-hmm.
in vanity or hybrid, it's the opposite. Money flows from the author to the publisher for purposes of paying for, and it's usually like a handful of things: editing, which is usually bad,
Mm-hmm.
covers, equally bad, and they'll say things like marketing and social media, and that's all crap too. It's none of it is good. So basically, you're paying for a publishing package with a vanity press that is going to do basically editing and covers, and they're going to do proofreading, and they're going to do marketing, and they're going to get your book in the hands of readers, and they're going to charge you thousands of dollars for things that you could do for yourself for hundreds of dollars. which is why vanity and hybrid are never the right choice, because not only are you paying too much for a product, their goal is to churn out as much product as possible, so it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
So back to what a small press can do or could do. So we talked about offset print runs, in that a lot of these small presses aren't doing offset print runs. So they're not basically increasing your royalties by investing in a less expensive printing of your book, and then basically committing themselves to selling enough copies to justify the print run, which is why they don't do that. Because a lot of these authors are new debut authors. You're not, I'm actually talking to an overseas printer right now. I don't know if it's called Sese. It's SESE, for potentially doing a special edition offset print run for the omnibus of the Devil You Know once it's done. But like, that's a thing. I would have to fund that. I would have to, like, there'd be a like a Kickstarter to generate the funds to pay for an offset print. So yeah, small presses aren't usually doing offset print runs. They are often digital forward, in that they primarily do ebooks, and that's how everyone makes their money. Tanya, good to see you. Our audience consists of Tanya. She has 5 minutes of power. Tanya's in the Great White North, and it's getting whiter and colder, like, as we speak. So we're happy to have you. Welcome aboard.
Hi.
So small presses already, if they're doing print on demand, then that's not something in their favor. It's not something that's not in their favor, but, like, again, you're paying for the privilege of someone else to do print on demand. Now, what you will get with a small press. Sorry, did you have a question?
I had a question because we were both at a wedding like 25 years ago. And there was a guy, photographer.
We're not that old. We can't possibly be that old.
We couldn't have been alive 25 years ago. Look how young we are. Okay. Yeah, I'm 48. But there was a guy, the photographer, whose trunk was full of this one book that he had written.
Oh my God.
Which was the worst book I've ever read and the only book I've ever burned. And so he had a trunk full of that terrible book. And I know everything was different back then because it was the olden times. But, like, how did he get a trunk full of his book? So I know we were all driving covered wagons back then, but how?
I'm going to have to look him up.
I don't remember his name.
I'm going to name drop him, because if he's actually on TikTok, then God help us all. So the guy's name was Scott Ian Barry. And the book was called The Streeter.
I would literally rather read Catcher in the Rye again than read Streeter again. And I hate Catcher in the Rye.
I read it. It wasn't the worst book I had ever read, but I've read a lot of books, and some of them were really bad. It was so bad. It was the length of a short pulp novel. I remember it being very thin, and I do not recall if he had a publisher or if he had. So back then, self-publishing was a thing, but it was much less popular. It was considered the fail state for people who couldn't get a traditional book deal. So he could have self-published. He also could have. There are plenty of smaller presses, especially for things like horror and thriller, that will publish mediocre novels.
Okay.
I don't know.
He had all the confidence of a mediocre man, and he did photography wearing a kilt with nothing on underneath it, and while crouching on the ground, there were children there. Everybody saw everything. It was bad.
It was bad. It was bad.
Fortunately, I was not at the wedding party, so I didn't see it, but all the others did.
No, we were like off to the side being horrified.
Yeah. It was not good. Anyway.
So yeah,
I just wanted to know how that happened.
How did he get a trunk full of books?
He was literally giving them away.
Yeah, he like He
I
likely
burned it in your
self-published.
yard.
We burned a lot of things in my yard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say he probably self-published, but that's not a sure thing because there are plenty of bad pulp novels that have been published by small presses throughout the years.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So what you do get from a small press, if your name isn't Scott Ian Barry, he's gonna come for me. I don't know. Like, yeah, he also, Tanya makes a point. It also could have been Vanity Publishing. Oh, let me tell you about a terrible Vanity Publishing scheme. It's terrible.
Oh boy.
I personally know authors who have been victimized by this, and I feel terrible because in some cases they signed after we told them that it was a bad idea, but that's not, I can't make decisions for people.
Was it that one guy?
Look,
Luis?
Lori, I know okay. I know a lot of that one guy, Lori. I don't, it could have been any number of that one guy. No, Luis is self-publishing. He has, he also has his own imprint now, Lobo Press.
Okay.
No, this is some other guy that I will not name.
Okay.
So Vanity money flows from the author to the publisher, and that's a red flag. There is a predatory clause in publishers that try to look very legit in that they will, in fact, pay for an offset print run of your book because they believe in you. But if you do not sell all the books in the print run, and we're talking like 1,000 or 2,000 books, maybe even
It's
more.
A lot of books.
Then you have to buy the rest of the books. It's
on top of what it costs to print them.
No. They've invested.
Oh, okay.
Allegedly, and then you sell the books. And then if you don't sell them all, whatever they have left, you buy at some negotiated price that I'm sure works out very well for the publisher.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a different Vanity predatory clause because it makes it look legit because you're not paying them up front, but you're paying them on the back end when you don't sell 2,000 books. I will tell you, I have like what I feel is a relatively successful indie series in that people enjoy it. I've got like over 600 ratings and reviews across the 3 books.
Nice.
By all accounts, it's decent. By decent, I mean I'm humble. It's a good series, and he has one review that isn't very positive. Yeah, Tanya's trying to say like that the majority of the reviews are positive, and even the negative ones are still like mostly fine. And I haven't sold 2,000 books. Like, it's especially if you're talking print books. Like, people aren't buying print books. Like, have them available.
No,
but like, don't never ever should you sign on the dotted line to pay a publisher back for the offset print run that you should know is not going to sell. So,
oh, she looked him up.
Oh, you looked him up. Oh, it's a Vanity
This is
Press.
Scotty and Barry.
Yeah, one review since 1994. We didn't meet him until like 2000.
Yeah, this was around. This was. Okay, so this was after Alex, so it was after.
I like that you're doing like carbon dating by boyfriend.
This is how I tell time. It was. I don't think I was dating JC yet, at least not seriously, but it was after Alex. So it was after September of 2001.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it might have been before September 2000. I don't know if the towers had fallen yet, but it was around that time.
I don't know. Look, so okay, we're gonna get off the Scott trail only because,
anyway,
again, if I get an angry email, look, Scott,
he doesn't have the clout.
I'm sorry. I'm not actually sorry, but like, it's
I'm not sorry that book sucked.
yeah,
I burned
it was
it.
not a good. I read the book. I didn't burn it. I think I donated it. But like, you know, okay, where in the absolute hell were we? Okay, yeah, sorry.
Small
I
presses
was talking about
energy
the
publishing.
terrible you're gonna owe us money vanity press clause.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya, I don't believe you. Tor Books published him? What are you talking about? Okay, we're gonna look this up
Was
later when I have time to
was it The Streeter?
process.
Was it just that one book
I
called
don't.
The
I
Streeter? Because that's
cannot
the
imagine.
one.
That would be. See, and look, if Tor published the Streeter, then like we're we got problems. Then
It's
Tor's
bad,
been.
man.
Huh. Okay, we're gonna. The chat is absolutely just throwing me now. All right, so back to small presses, the long meandering conversation about small presses. So what do you get from a small press? Theoretically, you get editing. Okay, so if a small press picks up your book, they are going to have an editor. All right. In this day and age, you have to be very careful about small presses that are actually just like two raccoons in a trench coat using AI. Because that's actually a thing that's been happening. Is there are a lot of new small presses that have popped up that are actually just people using AI to edit your books, AI to make your covers, and then publishing them. So
Do
you have to
your homework.
yeah, you have to do your homework, do your research, talk to authors who have been published by that publisher. So small presses should get you an editor. Okay. Small presses should get you a cover. They should get you a cover that doesn't suck. Newsflash, a lot of small presses covers suck. I'm sorry. And I feel bad saying this, but like, oh my God, some of these covers that I'm seeing come out, like I use we both have used get covers. I use get covers extensively.
They're so
And
good.
they're great. And if Get Covers for $35 will give me a deluxe package that is better than the cover that's done by your small press, and Tanya uses herself. Tanya is a cover designer as well, but also like there are plenty of people who are using like Canva Pro to do their own covers. There are cover templates on Canva, and you can use non AI stock material. Regardless, if Get Covers can make me a cover that's better than what your small press is putting out. So like also, if you're thinking about a small press, go look at the books they publish. Go look if their covers are bad. If their covers are bad, like run screaming for the hills because your cover is going to be bad.
Yeah. Be careful though with Canva because Canva recently added a lot of AI imagery to their stock imagery and it is not tagged.
Nope.
It does not yet have the ability to filter out the AI imagery. So just be careful. If it looks like AI, it probably is.
Yep.
Hopefully they're going to be updating that soon and being able to filter out what's AI and what isn't. But right now, the AI imagery on Canva is not labeled AI. So it's just a jungle and you just have to guess which of this is AI. I don't know.
So you get a cover.
Adobe Stock did it right away. Okay.
They did. Yeah, actually that's one thing that they are good about. Also things like deposit photos and iStock photo, most of those have ways of filtering out AI imagery. It's not 100%, but it's like better than not having the option. All right. So you get a cover, you get editing. Great. Those are things that you as an author then do not have to pay out of pocket for. All right, fine. What kind of terms are people getting from small publishers? And most of what I'm seeing right now is like 50-50 splits for these new smaller publishers that are there. So number one, most small publishers are not going to give you advances. Like even medium-sized publishers, like I don't believe that. And if Athon, if you're listening, and I get this wrong, please feel free to correct me. I have huge respect for the imprint Athon Books, which is like a medium-sized press, like focused on lit RPG and that kind of stuff. I don't think that even they do advances. What publishers are doing instead of advances is they are giving better royalty terms. So like a lot of publishers, they'll give you an advance on your book. And for the record, most people are not actually getting six-figure advances. That's mostly just like the loudest people who are talking about their book deals. You know, the last time I looked at the numbers, I'm pretty sure that for especially debut authors, book deals are anywhere from like 10 to 50 grand, like at the max, you know? So like you're not talking six figures as a debut author, especially.
Unless you're famous.
Unless, well, yes. Okay. Debut author
yeah.
with no notoriety.
Existing platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these smaller publishers and even medium-sized publishers, they are giving better terms on royalties instead of doing advances. So it de-risks it a bit for them. They don't have to pay you up front and advance, but they'll take less money on the royalties, which may or may not be great. You know, in the end, they may lose less money, or they make, you know, it's a gambling thing. So what I'm seeing a lot is these smaller presses doing these 50-50 splits. Okay, so it's 50% of the royalties goes to the author, 50% of the royalties goes to the publisher. And this is multiple. So like if you're listening to this and you think I'm talking about one specific small publisher, I'm not. I'm talking about multiple that have this type of deal. That being said, I do want to talk briefly about what I said was kind of sneaky when it comes to audiobooks. Because one of the reasons I was thinking about not self-publishing my last book and this next upcoming book is because I wanted someone else to potentially do the audiobooks that I didn't have to pay up front for without having to do like royalty share through ACX. Well, what if your small publisher says, we're going to do your audiobook, but then in fact they do royalty share on ACX? So you have a 50% royalty deal. Your contract says you get 50% of the royalties. Okay, fine. Except if they do royalty share, then 50% of the royalties goes to the narrator and 50% goes to the rights holder. That's them. The publisher is the rights holder. Then you get 50% of 50%. So you're actually getting 25% of the audiobook royalties, because a small press may not be able to actually actively produce their own audiobooks. They may in fact simply be going to ACX and using that exchange like anybody else, doing royalty share or having their own royalty share agreements with artists. And so I can do royalty share with ACX myself. I can hire a narrator to do my books. I don't need a publisher to do that for me, especially if it's going to be a publisher who isn't going to give me any kind of real like brand name or marketing support, you know? And yeah, Tanya says that she likes making her own audiobooks. I do too. I really like it. I like time. I only have so much of it. And but I'm certainly not going to give up my rights and 25% of potential royalties, even if I was going to do royalty share and farm it out, you know? So yeah, so you get a book cover, you get editing, you might get an audiobook, might not. And
marketing,
you get potentially marketing support, except I've talked to a ton of independent authors who have gone with small presses only to find the same challenge that people have with big presses, which is, especially for debut authors, there is no marketing support. they say that they're going to give you marketing support, and you get whatever happens on release day, and then that's it. And so you're doing all of your social media, you're doing your appearances, you're doing your other stuff. Like, bigger presses may have more help for getting you into places like bookstores and conventions and things like that. But the reality is you're still going to be doing it yourself. And so for a smaller press, the same problem exists, but you are, again, paying for the privilege of doing it yourself when it comes to those, you know, giving up a portion of your royalties. So the things that you really have to be careful about when considering a small press is, are they actually going to be doing anything for me that I cannot or am already going to have to do myself for an amount of money that makes this worth it? Because if I have to pay from, like, I pay for my own editing, I pay for my covers, fine. I can do calculations to decide how many books I need to sell to break even on those expenses. And then I could do calculations on how long it would take for me to break even. Well, sorry, I realized I misspoke. So if I'm paying for it, I know when my break even and then like profit time is. I can do those calculations. With a small press, you don't have to pay those things up front, and that's what a lot of people like. And if that's your only goal, is I don't want to pay anything up front and I don't want to do any of this myself for editing or covers or any of that, then a small press might be right for you. But in the end, I think a lot of them are not going to be worth what you give up from a creative control, potential future royalties, and other options compared to what you get from it.
That makes sense.
And I realize this has been the Ben Yaps About Small Presses show, but these are going to happen periodically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that, and we've eaten most of our time with that, because honestly, like, there's a lot that people don't know or understand about what your options are when it comes to self-publishing versus small presses. And I'll say it can be just as complicated querying and getting into a small press. Like, you may have no more luck with small presses than you did with agents or bigger names. Like, there's no guarantee that if you say, yeah, I'd be okay with a small press, the small press might be like, yeah, but we don't want you either. In which case, then you're back to the drawing board. So just take it with a grain of salt in that. Be careful, do your research, do your homework, make smart decisions. And in the end, it may or may not be an option for you anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a break for a commercial, which is, we just put out this anthology. Look at this. Look at this great book.
It says A Season for Stories. I know it's backwards.
Except backwards.
It has 4 short stories in it. One from me, one from Ben, one from our friend Tal, and one from our friend Dave.
Yep.
Who I think goes by David as his author name.
He does. But it's an adorable little anthology. And
yes.
I consider it the Caffeinated Terrier Press like taster. It's a little sampler of short stories that tend to be tied to our existing series, which is really nice. So yeah, people should definitely check that out, because as far as that goes, like, having an imprint name when you publish, some people do that simply because it takes some of the stigma away. That, like, if people see published by Ben Schenkman, they'll be like, that's self-published, that's trash. But if they see Caffeinated Terrier Press, besides the fact that they laugh because it's a great name, it gives legitimacy. But we're also trying to treat it like a real imprint at this point. So, good for us.
And I designed the logo.
Yes. And the logo, which actually, so I'll show off my. So I also have the new cover for my latest book.
Oh,
That
it's
being
great.
"Let Sleeping Gods Lie." But if you look at the adorable paw print
Little
logo,
paw print.
and also it's a modified version of the Caffeinated Terrier Talk. Is Caffeinated Terrier Press. Um, Lori is the designer that did our logos, which is fantastic.
Because I can still design things.
Yes, you
Even
can.
though the job that I got after being laid off was, I'm in customer service now. People tell me I have a good customer service voice.
I know that you don't want to do audiobooks, but you could do audiobooks.
I could. I might. I don't love the sound of my own voice, so like recording it and then listening to it might be pure torture. But I might. I'm still thinking about it.
You
I
have
might write all 3 books and then tackle audiobooks. I
I'm
don't know.
I'm just saying there people do make if not at least a decent side hustle. There are plenty of people that do this full time. Um and
Okay.
you already have a microphone that is good enough for audiobooks.
I have a
So
great
if you
microphone.
want to talk about it, you talk to me and Tanya because I'm sure Tanya would love to add you to the roster for total immersion narration.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a possibility because
This isn't me trying to
yeah.
put you on the spot, but
Okay. Something to think about.
mhm.
I don't know anything about it,
The good news is
but
I do. Here
wonderful.
to help.
Yeah. My big problem is I yeah, I have some comprehension problems when it comes to actually reading things and a bit of a stutter that comes out when I try to do stuff like that. So that's lots of fun. So I don't know how that would go, but it'd be fun to find out. I can talk as I'm doing right now, and it very rarely, actually no, frequently when I'm on the phone with customers, I will forget words in the middle of sentences. It's awesome, but they seem to be fine with it.
Mhm.
I'm really weirdly good in customer facing positions.
Yeah, the good news is there are plenty of techniques that you can use to still record efficiently, even if you have regular screw ups. Yeah, Tanya
Awesome.
mentions it's called punch and roll. It's also
Okay.
edit. Editing is how you fix these things. So, I we
Yes.
don't need to go down this rabbit hole.
We don't.
Our topic for next time could always be, hey, audiobooks. How does that work? Um,
And I'll just sit here and not make any sound because I know nothing.
yeah,
I'll just sit here and laugh and make dumb jokes.
I'll do a separate live, not on a caffeinated terrier talk night with you
Okay.
to talk about audiobooks.
Good idea.
Um,
And I know we were going to talk a little bit about scams. If anyone's out there wondering, yeah, once you publish a book, you're going to get a whole lot of emails. If anyone claims to have read your book, they have not. Um, look for bad grammar, dead giveaway in any scam, in any email. Bad grammar. People who fall for scams are usually dumb, and they want to pick the dumb people. So that's how they filter it out. If the email's badly written, if it seems like it was translated from another language or written by ChatGPT, it is for a reason. They are trying to pick the dumb people. They're trying to pick the people who will not notice those errors, those mistakes, and the fact that it was written by somebody who doesn't speak English as their first language. If it seems too good to be true, it is. It is too good to be true. If you get private messages on TikTok saying, I want to do this for you, for your book, don't. No, that's not how anyone legitimate is ever going to contact you. Basically, if it seems like a scam, it's probably a scam.
yeah,
When I was a freshman in college in New York, I got approached by somebody who said that I could be a model, and I just had to sign with this modeling agency, and for only $600, I could get pictures taken and have like a card or whatever. And it was related to somebody I knew who was a model, but at the time I looked like I was 12. And I'm just now realizing in New York City at the time, in the mid 90s, when I looked like I was 12, somebody trying to recruit me for a modeling agency, I very easily could have ended up on Epstein's Island. So I'm really, really glad that that didn't happen. But yeah, anything seems a little weird. It's going to trigger that like fight or flight thing in your brain. If it's just a little bit, yeah, that's a scam. Just walk away.
Yeah,
That's how to avoid scams.
if it's a book club or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to come from a, a Gmail address. So if they
Usually, yeah.
say that they're like the St. Croix book club, it's going to say St. Croix book club at gmail.com because it's not real. It's just a scam. They
Yep.
may even they're going to name themselves after real book clubs, and often book clubs that are on Meetup, because they can go to Meetup and get the names of the people in the book club and then impersonate them. Also, if a famous author emailed you from a Gmail address, no, they didn't.
And even if you get an email from a place that has like an official looking email address, you can copy and paste the email address into Notepad, Word, Google Docs, anything, and make it all capitals and see what those letters actually are. Because sometimes an M is actually a lowercase r and an N together. And it's
Yep.
not Microsoft, it's RNICR. You know, they do stuff like that in scams
Yep.
also. I've learned a lot of these things from the monthly IT scam training in my job. Um,
Was it ones
so
or
it's all
L's?
dirty little tricks like that. I think it's a lowercase L instead of an uppercase I, or the other way around.
Yep.
It's stuff like that. Yeah,
Oh, it takes me back to the early
dirty
days
little
of
tricks.
AOL.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a minute and just say what we're up to and where people can find us, and then we can sign off for the night. Let's talk. We can talk more about scams next time because I feel like there's more.
Sure.
There's more
There's
meat
probably
to that
more.
topic,
Could be.
um, and also we'll get more scams between now and then that we can talk about.
Yeah. What are you working on?
So I am. Oh, so Let Sleeping Gods Lie, which is the last book that I published in October, is in the self-published fantasy blog off 11. So this year's contest, I got through the lottery, so that's happening. So that's cool. And advanced review copies, ARCs, are open for my next novel, which is called My Brother's Keeper. It's the Jewish urban fantasy novel uh, with a brain melting twist. And so if you're interested in something like that, sign up at my website, benshankman.com. Lori, what are you
It's
up
very
to?
good. I am currently constantly forgetting to market myself for the one book I've got out so far, which is sitting behind me, but I'm currently chained to this desk. That is Down the Rabbit Hole. You can find information at, is it
Yep.
author.laurienielsen.com?
Yep. But also at,
laurienielsen.com, author.laurienielsen.com. Also on Caffeinated Terrier Press's website, I'm on there. And I'm currently writing the sequel to Down the Rabbit Hole, which is Underground. The first book was inspired by Alice in Wonderland. The second book is inspired by the movie Labyrinth and takes us to New York City's underground. Though actually, we haven't gone underground yet, and I'm already like a third of the way through the book. So I'm about to get there, but I'm about a third of the way writing the sequel. So that's what I'm doing. And reading his newest book, like alpha reading his
yep,
newest
book
book.
4 in the Devil You Know. I'm also writing
Yes.
the second book in the Corbin Pierce series. So lots going on.
So
Lots going
much.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, though, thank you for joining us. And this was us with Caffeinated Terrier Talk. We'll be back probably in 2 weeks, like usual ish. And come check us out next time. Lori, just again, it's It's author.laurienielsen.com. Make sure you spell Nielsen right, and benshankman.com. So thanks for being here and chatting with us.